Hi.
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 Hello.
I'm curious about
Building open, authentic, loving relationship.
I'm curious about jealousy.
I'm curious about polyamory.
Does it just mean that you're fucking all the time?
How can I tell my parents that my partner is already married?
I'm curious about
How do you know when you're too busy to have another relationship?
I'm curious about dominant and subordinate relationships.
I'm curious about sexual health.
How can relationships evolve with people as they grow and change?
The first time I used the sauna, I fell off the bed.
Welcome to the Curious Folks podcast, for those challenging the status quo in love, sex, and relationships. My name is Effy Blue.
And I'm Jacqueline Misla. And today we're talking about sex toys.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like normally I have a much more eloquent introduction than that, but today I'm going straight to it.
I feel like sex toys don't need an introduction.
Yes. That's it. Yeah. I was thinking about this earlier. When we grow up, we have to take on a lot of boring tasks because I know that I would rather be spending time blowing bubbles and swinging on swings and rolling down hills. And instead I am buying groceries and answering emails and cleaning the kitchen for the 100th time.
Wah, wah.
I know. And so as I was preparing for this, I was thinking about episode 49 that we did, Boredom and Sex as a Hobby. And we talk about that sex is a way to engage in grown-up play. Mm-hmm. And like all fun and games, it's always better when you add some toys.
Yes. Toys just make everything better, you know? Okay, let's talk about toys. I am curious if you remember when you realized that sex toys were a thing, like that there was like specialized toys for sexual pleasure.
So there's a few answers to that. I think where I learned most of my sexual information as a young person was via Cinemax and HBO at night. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure at some point I saw things being used there. Mm-hmm. I don't think I used anything for a long time. I remember as an adolescent, at some point, I used to use a belt. Now, not in the way that I think people use a belt, but like, oh God, I'm going to regret saying this, but essentially like holding one side on the front, holding one side of the back and kind of pulling up, if you will, almost like a very uncomfortable swing. Right, exactly. Yeah. But that was during my, as many kind of religious young people, if I don't actually touch it, maybe it doesn't count. And so like if you rub it against something or use other things, that doesn't actually count. That was kind of the narrative in my head. So I remember that. And then in high school, I remember someone I was messing around with. One time we were messing around and he was like, I'll be right back, and came back with a cucumber that was carved into the shape of a penis.
Wow, and imaginative. I don't know. I mean, it's a little awkward, but it's kind of imaginative. Give him some points for imagination and creativity.
Yeah. And then he was definitely like, he was going to have a salad afterwards. So that's
wow. Okay,
that was that.
Sure, he went there. Whoa, that's
He went all the way there. Yeah. That was right for high school. So that's in my mind. I feel like they were like unpurchased props, if you will, that were used in place of. And then I probably feel like maybe it was in my 20s that I first like entered into a store and like saw all the shapes and colors and felt completely overwhelmed and out of place and like did not know what to buy and had to rely on the very, very helpful people who work there to guide me through that process.
Sure.
What about you?
Similar to you, I experimented with so many things that aren't official sex toys, but like just from humping my pillow to my grandma's massager for her back to various shaped objects around the house. So I've definitely experimented with things that props, like you said. And then my first sex toy, very, very bland. It was the rabbit, thanks to Sex and the City. Like I don't know, 80% of women out there, like, oh, it's a thing. Sex toys are a thing. I think Charlotte gets addicted to her rabbit. And there's a sort of a shot where she's like holding it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then like the rabbit was a thing. And that's the first toy I bought. But like the early sex toys that I could get my hands, like before I know all the things I know now, I mean, I probably wouldn't touch it now. It was like plastic that probably would like corrode my insides. But that's that. But I think I might still have it somewhere as a like a. I wouldn't use it right now. I would not use it. But
for nostalgic purposes.
Exactly. Like you see like toys from the 1940s, and you gave that to a kid. Like, that is so not safe. Yeah, it has that kind of a vibe. I'm like, I would never use that for its intended purpose, but I would like to keep it just for the nostalgia of it. That's for sure. Yeah. And then, I think a decade later, I fell into the sex positive community and learned about all the things and all the toys. And actually, shocker to all our listeners, I'm sure, I have a chest full of toys. I have all the toys that you can imagine, all different types of toys. Mostly because, one, I teach with them, and two, I like to have things for people who I'm playing with to enjoy, because it's like that fun, like there is something fun about opening a chest full of toys. There is that childlike, enthusiastic, yay, we have toys to play with. And I like that connection. I like that vibe. I like the humor that goes with it. I like the faces people make. What? This is a thing. And over the years, I've collected them. I've been given them for testing things, the various collaborations, all that kind of stuff. So I have quite a large collection of toys. But personally, I don't actually use them. If I'm going to masturbate, I am really like the most comfiest, most happiest with my own hand. Very rarely I'll pull out a toy to use on myself if I'm on my own. With other people, it's a whole other story. But if I was just going to spend time on my own, I really wouldn't pull out a toy. I would just hang out with myself. Again, boring. It's a little boring. It's on the boring side. I know.
I don't know about boring. Comfortable, maybe. It's like direct to the point. It's going to work in those times. I feel that way when it's like a means to an end. I know the things to do, then the hand is the way to go. If there's more time available, if I feel kind of like sitting in that space for a while, then I would probably reach for a toy. Honestly, I would reach for. So I have an Eva, which is, if you don't know, it's a Dame product. It lives in this beautiful glowing igloo that sits at my bedside. And so if I do go for a toy, solo or partnered play, like that is the thing I reach for first. If you haven't heard of Dame, incidentally, if you receive our monthly newsletters, then you're going to find a coupon for Dame at the bottom of each newsletter for 15% off. You can get your own little igloo. But yeah, so I think I use that, but I think that's, I still get amazed. The rabbit I never used, that felt intimidating. There were like too many things moving at once and too many places and things. I just like at the time, and then I haven't gone back. But when you visited New York for my birthday, we went to the Museum of Sex.
Yes.
And we saw sex toys from like hundreds of years ago.
Yes.
Made of all sorts of interesting products. And so even then, my eyes were open. I was like, what is that? What did they use that for? Yeah. And that's often how I feel when I go into a sex shop, even now.
Do you remember the sex throne from the French?
Yes.
Like Louis period? Like the whole throne for sex? For the king to enjoy the consorts?
Exactly. People, you can have space on the bottom, on the top. It looked... Yeah. Imagine, and remember, everything had to be handmade. So imagine like the craftsmen who were putting that together and upholstering it. And
like someone would have to like think about it, think about all the acts and all the positions, and then like design
like an engineer.
You'd have to design something, and
there had to be test models. People had to like sit on it to see if it was like heavy enough. Then two people had to get on it. Yes,
totally. There's no like 3D printing that dildo. You know what I mean? So
oh my God, people can 3D print dildos now. I just realized that.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm not ready for the future.
And vulvas, which I think is more of a thing these days. I think more and more they're 3D printing vulvas for things like the fleshlight, where essentially it's like a vulva. It looks like I think they call it a fleshlight because it looks like a flashlight, like a torch.
Yes, of course. Yes,
and it's like a vulva opening. It's like this soft, squidgy silicone. And you can buy different type of like vulva shapes, and then you kind of put your penis in there, and then you move the thing up and down, and it's supposed to feel like you're in a vagina. I think there's more of like printing different sides of that than dildos. I think it's probably because more guys are spending time with like 3D printers, you know, and that's what they're printing.
Maybe. Well, my daughter told me, she learned in school, that now with 3D printing, you can 3D print food and 3D print organs.
I know about organs, but food?
Food, yeah, apparently. And so, yeah, I mean, if you can get organs, then those flashlights are going to get real, like...
Real. They're going to get real. Yeah.
They're going to get real. They're actually just going to be
they're going to get real.
Just going to be real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that there are porn stars and sex workers that get toys created based off of their own anatomy, which again feels like, if that to me feels like one of the highest compliments, to be like, you not only want to sleep with me, you will sleep with some version of me, some like 3D printed version of, and my vulva is famous. I love that.
Yeah, vulva, your penis. It's like the Barbie version of the porn world. It's like when Harry Styles gets the Barbie, you know, Harry Styles Barbie. It's like porn stars get their penis or their vulva. That's what that is.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm totally into it. So that's what I mean. Far away from the cucumbers of the past.
Yes.
And now we are entering into the future. I feel like there have been so many updates since then.
Exactly. Over the last few years, there's been considerable developments in sex toys for vulva and penis owners alike. From fantasy shapes like dragon cocks to discreet products that double up as exquisite jewelry. Hello, Crave.
Yes.
This new wave of brands and products, often led by female founders, by the way, like Dame Alex Fine, amazing female founder. We love her. These new brands and products offer a myriad of options with all these different sizes and shapes and materials and settings. How do you find the right toy? For those who don't know about toys, how do you start? Where do you start? How do you also introduce toys to play with your partners, which can also be kind of intimidating?
That's true. We have these questions and more, and to guide us through our conversation today is a friend of the Fox.
I'm Dirty Lola, sex educator and dildo slinger based in Brooklyn.
Dirty Lola is known for her live sex ed Q&A show, Sex Ed A Go-Go, and as a sexpert on the Netflix docuseries The Principles of Pleasure. Lola has spent almost a decade working to end the stigma and shame surrounding sex and sexuality. She also was the mistress of ceremonies at one of our annual conferences, Consider This, and is one of our favorite people.
We started our conversation with the obvious question. Why would anyone want to use a sex toy?
There's multiple reasons. I think some people decide to use sex toys because they've been doing manual stimulation and it hasn't been working. So maybe that's been something that's just like they've tried and it's not a thing. Some folks, they like the adventure of trying different sensation. And I think some folks it's just maybe you're solo a lot and you just want to have stimulation similar to what you would have with a partner. And since you don't have a partner, you may go out seeking something that can kind of give you that. So like buying a dildo, or now we have all of these air pulse toys that will like make it feel like your clit's being sucked. So now you can stimulate those things. Or if you have a long distance partner and you're having phone sex, so you can get like the physical aspect of it. But I think the biggest thing is a lot of people use sex toys just to explore their bodies. It's just like a tool like anything else. You know, it makes it a little bit easier to access.
Yes. All right. I'm just noting in my mind, we're going to be talking more about the air ones. Because I'm like, bookmark that for myself. No, that totally makes sense to me. Effie and I were talking about the idea of like a toy chest and actually just how much fun that is to have and how that adds a different layer to personal or partnered connection to like open this chest up and it's like glowing and you look inside and you get to kind of choose your adventure.
It's like, what do you want to do tonight? And you open it up. Yeah. I just reorganized my sex toy drawer.
Yes. Your sex toy drawer must be fantastic.
It's like sorted into like, I have like a little bin of dildos. I use those clothing dividers you can get from IKEA, like the little baskets for underwear and socks. But I put like dildos, vibrators, rope and bondage things. I have a little thing that has like nipple clamps, so I know where to find them. But then I start getting lazy and just throwing stuff in. And then after a while, I'm like, oh, I have to redo this. Okay.
I'm glad that you said that because I'm saying it's a toy chest. It is not. It is like a box and everything is thrown into the box. And that is actually not at all sexy to like be like fumbling and rumbling through and like trying to find a thing. I need to get some IKEA storage now. I should be stepping up my sex toy game. That is what this is reminding me right now.
When you have a hookup, I'll tell you, it is that moment.
Yes.
I'll tell you what is fun with a sex toy box though, by just like you just tip it upside down in the middle of the bed and shake it and everything just like falls on your bed and then you're like let's play, people. But that's the fun piece about having just a box full of toys.
That's true. It's like, surprise.
Let me ask you this question. I was thinking about the first time that I went to a toy store. I had to have been in my 20s and it had to have been in the Village. Those two things are the only things I remember. I remember walking in and there's colors and shapes and things and things are moving and I don't know any of the things and I feel overwhelmed by the things. And the amazing people who work there like help me figure out the right things. But I feel like I walked in there with some misconceptions around that they are going to be huge or that they're going to be doing things that don't feel natural or they're going to. And so I'm wondering for you in your experience, what are some misconceptions that people bring to the table when they are curious about or afraid of playing with toys?
They think every toy is the same. So it's kind of like, they're like, well, I just want one. Like, what's a good one? I'm like, well, what do you want it for? Like, what parts of your body are you trying to touch? Are you doing this alone or with a partner? Do you want inner stimulation, outer stimulation? You want anal? Like, there's so many different areas and all these toys do a different job. And even when they look the same, like there's even like a motor difference and a sensation difference. And some of them are like very, very similar. And it might come down to like how you want to hold things. Do you have issues with grip? You know, there's so many things that we can like take it and break it down to like make it be the one. But I think people come in and they call everything a dildo. Everything's a goddamn dildo. And I'm like, it's not a dildo, it's a vibrator. And like, they just think that they can just, this, like, it's like buying dish soap. It's like, it'll wash the dishes. It doesn't matter. No, they're all unique. The other big one is like, I don't need lube. I get wet enough, which I get it. Like if you're doing internal and you're someone who does get very juicy, but if you're doing external, that juicy doesn't always transfer to the outside. If you're doing butt stuff, we know that doesn't happen. So because butts are not self-lubricating. So there's just this whole thing where, you know, people just come in already with like their hackles up about what they know they don't need or what they need. Like, I don't do that. And they're already like just not open. So that's like the biggest thing that I see. And then when you get somebody who's open, they're just overwhelmed. It's a little bit easier when you start breaking it down. Like, I have all the questions. Like we always ask, like, what's your price point? That's always my first question. That'll cut out like almost half of the stuff. Like if you tell me $60, we still have a lot of choices, but it's going to like slash down. So you have less to look at. And then like, is this for internal? And then the thing that kills me in like a man, I still have work to do is when people don't know how they orgasm. Like they know they orgasm, but they can't narrow it down of like, I think it was external or maybe it's internal or maybe both. And they'll say like, I'm not sure. And I'm like, you need to masturbate more. Yeah. So trying to find things so that they can explore and figure that stuff out or that's helpful.
Yeah.
The thing that still happens that we need to like stop is, my boyfriend, husband, partner won't want this. It's too big. They don't want me to buy anything too big. They don't want me to bring toys at all, but I'm not orgasming and I need something. And I'm like, are you hiding this? Or like, just give me something small so it'll be easier for them to like digest that I'm using this. And I'm like, they're tools. They're not, it's not a replacement. It's, and it's an extension of you.
Yeah, I think about this in like, as it relates to food, right? So similarly, it's like if someone says to you, I'm hungry, what should I eat? And you're like, well, there's a lot of things. What kind of things do you like to eat? Do you like spicy? Do you want something cold? Do you want to, right? Like those types of questions. But also, we could eat everything with our hands. Absolutely, we could. Or we could also use a fork or a spoon or chopsticks, depending on what it is. And that actually doesn't make that experience any worse. It doesn't make us worse eaters. It just means that different tools allow us to do different things.
And there's different spoons. You know, you could use a teaspoon for your soup, but what if you use the soup spoon? The experience would be even better.
Yes. I just learned about a grapefruit spoon the other day with like ridges in the end.
Yes. When I found that, chef kiss, I was like, they make a spoon with a knife and then I can just cut.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. If you have a spork somewhere in your house, there's no reason then for you not to have a dildo. You understand the value of multi-use toys vis-a-vis the spork.
Exactly.
Nice. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like the getting down to it, the different main types of toys, the different categories of toys that people should be looking for.
Yeah, so when you look at external toys, those could be anything from like the little small bullet size toys, the air pulse, air suction toys. And then there's like toys that aren't bullets, but like smaller vibrators, even larger vibrators. Then you start moving into like the longer vibrators that could be for external, but they're also meant for internal. Rabbit styles, which are going to give you both internal and external. And those are just like vulva toys. Because then you have like your anal toys you have like vibrating plugs, anal beads, vibrating anal beads, like plug sets. And you have your materials. You have metal and glass and silicone. You have all those kinds of things. And now they're making like we have humping toys. Humping has come back. I don't know if you've noticed, but humping is not come back. People hump and don't talk about it. That was how I masturbated until I was like 18. I humped. And I
still do sometimes, just a disclaimer here.
I don't use her anymore, but the doll I used to hump on is still, she's sitting next to me on the floor in a basket. She's my favorite doll, probably because I used to hump her face. But people hump and it's like not, we always think like masturbation has to happen on your back with like being in a certain position, but humping is really great for folks. So they have like humping pads. They have like the Pele Whim, which are just these silicone little soft things with different textures so you can rub against them. They have vibrating humping pads so you can like put it on a chair and like ride and just hump that way. You have like all these other choices. Now they're making more vibrators specifically for penises. And I've always said you can use vibrators on penises. There's no such thing as like penises actually love vibration, but they're making ones that have like little flaps that like will like kind of hug the penis and then flap against it as you run it up and down. And it's not just a stroker, like it's a wand style. And they make air pulse toys for penises now too, that like is like a stroker with a piece that will like air pulse suck the head. And so there's so many like different little arms to reach out to. I mean, there's cock rings and there's ones that vibrate and ones that don't. People get very confused because when they vibrate, they immediately think, well, this is for me. It's like a vault for a vulva. And I'm like, well, it's for both of you. Like it's to make the person with the penis feel more sensitive and it's going to heighten their sensation. And then it's also giving you like this option to have a hands-free vibrator. So you kind of need to collaborate when you're looking at those things. Because immediately people are like, oh, it vibrates. It's not for a penis. I'm like, no, it's for everyone. It's for all of us. Yeah. So there's so many categories.
Yes. And those are just like actual like toys for actual arousal, but then you have like bondage gear, and then you have the floggers, and then the nipple clamps, and those pinwheel things,
the Wartenberg wheels.
Yes, exactly. They're like fun.
We have the wellness stuff now too. So you have like O-Nut, which is like the rings that will help. Like if you get pain, or maybe you just have a partner that's really big and it's too much for you, you can stack these rings on the penis so it cushions so they can't go in as deep, but the penis still gets stimulation as if they're inside.
Yes.
So you have all these lovely things. And then Kegel exercises.
Kegel toys.
Yeah, they're like, I'm like, well, they might feel good, but if you don't orgasm internally that way, they're not going to make you orgasm, but it is helping you strengthen your pelvic floor, which serves many, many purposes and also can help have stronger more productive orgasms. I like to call it that, 'cause sometimes they're like really long and it's great. But those are like wellness toys that we still have. And then there's like dilators, which can be used for gender affirming, but also for folks with vaginismus. So there's like toys that are actual health tools that help people get back into pleasure. And I'm so glad that there are companies making things that look pretty, because before, dilators were like this hard beige plastic thing that you got from a doctor. And now there's so many beautiful, like colorful silicone sets that just make you feel like, oh, I'm doing something nice for myself, not like, oh, I gotta do this thing that's like medicine. Hate this. Yeah. So we have all those things too. And then you have your gender affirming, because you have packers, we have strap-ons, which can be used for sex stuff, but also some folks, they use them for having sex. And we have like binders and all the things that still fall into the category of sex stuff, but that's great. It's also just for you to live in the world.
Yes. Yeah. It's also amazing that all that stuff is like, thanks to technology, thanks to all the new materials, 3D printing, we were talking about this earlier, engineering, being able to model so quickly, testing so quickly. Now we have like endless products and all the different ways that you can think of. I do have a question around, so I can kind of see how someone can, once they get into that mode, and especially with some guidance from someone like you, they can figure out, okay, I kind of like this kind of stimulation, so this shape makes sense, get that. Can you speak a little bit more about the material? Because I think that's kind of a bit of a wild card. I don't think people really realize that each material have a different sensation, and I'd love to talk about how you would navigate that part of the categories.
Yeah. So your major in the body safe category is silicone, right? Like it's durable. It doesn't stain. It's not going to leach chemicals. It's all those things. But then we also have TPEs, which are body safe, but you can't share them because they still are porous. So they're not going to leach chemicals into your body, but you can't like go butt to vagina with it because you can't sterilize it. You shouldn't, unless you're fluid bonded, but like with partners, if you're going to a play party, you don't want to take your TPE toy. And I call all of those semi-permanent because they start to get, start gross over time. TPEs aren't toys you're going to keep forever. And people go, well, why would you use it? I'm like, because they're so soft and squishy. Most strokers for penises are TPE because they're so malleable and soft and they warm up very quickly. And, they're just really like when that squishy. And so you get that because that's what silicone with phthalates, which the rubber with phthalates, that's what the phthalates used to do to the rubber, make it squishy, but then it also was leaking poison and burning people and causing like chemical burns and stuff. So now we get, which TPE is thermoplastic elastomer. So we still get like this squishy moment without like the leaching, but it's not something you can necessarily share. So you have to look at those things like, do I want to share? You can always slap a condom if it's like a TPE dildo or something like that you want to share. A lot of toys that are of a lower price point many times will have TPE instead of silicone because that keeps the price down. And I like those toys because they let people access something and try it out without spending a ton of money. And then you can go and invest in the more expensive thing. And the thing is the price of silicone has come down drastically. Also, the tech with silicone. So silicone's not just hard anymore. You can get dual density. You can get like a little bit of a softer silicone. There's different sheens of silicone. And so those are more on your soft ends. And then there's glass. People are like, why glass? I'm like, one, it's beautiful. Some people just love aesthetics. Like they're just into the aesthetics of their items. And so glass does that for some folks, but also it warms up to your body really quickly and like differently. It can cool. So you can put it in the fridge and cool it down before play. Not freezer, because when we freeze things, mucous membranes do not like frozen items. It will cause frostbite inside of your anal cavity or your vaginal cavity.
Pro tips, don't put them in the freezer, friends.
Yeah, just the fridge. It'll cool. If you put it in the fridge overnight, it'll be plenty cold. You don't need to like freeze it. And some people just like the way it looks. They like the smoothness of it, like the seamlessness of it. That's a reason for glass. Metal, you get that smooth seamlessness of it, but you also get weight. So when we're talking about butt toys, especially, people like weight. They want that feeling of fullness, but that's also kind of pulling down on gravity. They like that heft. That's why the Enjoy toys are very popular. Like if you've ever seen a Pure Wand, it's heavy as fuck. You could hit somebody. And 11, I don't know if you've ever seen an Enjoy 11. It's like
a weapon.
yeah, because it's like you could beat a rock with it if you needed to. And people like that kind of weight when you're doing. People who enjoy fisting will also like really enjoy metal toys because they have that same weight and hardness. You can get that same pressure. So you can't do like, you could do some pressure things with a silicone toy, but it might bend. It's going to be a little bit more, flexy. Whereas if you have like a metal toy, there's no give. You're putting it in and you're pressing. It's not going to bend. It's not going to move. So especially for kink things, if you're amping up sensation, you're amping into that world, like where you're eking into the pleasure pain, those harder toys that are less flexible, great. People love that. So you have to think about that stuff. People are always afraid with glass. Like, what if it breaks inside me? And I'm like, unless you fall out of the bed at the perfect angle, it's not going to happen. Now, if you dropped your toy a bunch, like on a very hard surface, I would stop using it. I always tell people, like, if something happened, you dropped it on a very hard floor, it could get a fissure. And because of that, you are causing cracks that could make it break if you're vigorously using it. Right. Nobody wants that. So you do have to use some common sense around it. Drastic temperature changes with glass toys. I don't know who would do this, but like if you put it in the freezer and then you tried to quickly put it in like into a boiling pot, it's going to explode. Hopefully it wouldn't make it into your body before that happened. But it's science. Drastic temperature changes will cause glass to break. So things like that you have to pay attention to. But I mean, we also have wood. Wood is around and it's kind of a niche thing. I think a lot of people who are very into nature tend to gravitate. And it's another thing. It's about aesthetics. It's beautiful. People make some beautiful carved wood items. They're a little bit harder to care for because you have to, like, there's a certain finish that they have to put on to make it body safe. And sometimes that slowly will come off over time. So it all comes down to like really asking the questions about the item you're buying, doing the research and like how to actually care for it. And then if you're somebody, I always say, if you're lazy, don't buy a wood dildo.
Is there any particular toys that you recommend for penetrative play? To that example that you gave of like someone coming in and saying, I want to use something because I'm not orgasming during penetration, but I don't want it to get in the way of the penetration. I don't want my partner to feel some sort of way. Any things that you recommend?
Jackie, are you asking for a friend?
Yeah, of course. Asking for
anything small that you can cup in your hand. So like there's so many like palm type that have like a little curve to them because that's great. Like if you're doing missionary, which missionary slaps for a lot of people. And I am a fan. I know people are like, oh, that's boring. I'm like, it hits the spot. So if you like get a little palm vibe or just something like bullets, anything small, just because you want in between bodies, it'll be easier to use that way. Then you have like the wearables. So like the Dame Eva that fits behind your outer labia and against your clit. Doesn't work for everybody because everybody's outer labia aren't able to like hold it in place the way it needs to be held in place, but great if it is, and you like that style of vibration. So things like that. If you're doing different positions, I love a small wand. And I know wands feel like the antithesis to what people are looking for when they're trying to like bring something into the bedroom. But if you're doing doggy style or any kind of position where you're twisted around, you want like clitoral stimulation, having a wand with a nice handle, great. And they make there's so many, like Magic Wand came out with a baby wand. The wand has a petite wand. Like there's the Palm Power wand that's like crazy powerful and like small as fuck. So there's a lot of choices. It's thinking about how you fit together.
I have a question. What are some of the popular toys for same-sex relationships?
What I notice is a lot of folks are enjoying this renaissance with dildos and that they come in so many different shapes and that they all don't look like a penis. Like you don't have to there are some that are very penis-like, like they've got veins and all the things, but now they're making them with just it's phallic, but it's just a pretty shape and color, and maybe it has texture. And I think those feel better to a lot of folks who are non-binary, or wherever they are in their journeys, to not have something that's like a penis, but that you're using for penetration. There's been a lot of like attachments for wands and things that make it so that you can utilize it in different ways. So for penetration, or to like, there's one that's like, it looks like the Pele one, which is one of the humping pads, but it fits on the head of a wand. So it's like you can grind against it, and it doesn't matter what genitals you have. So if you don't want like that direct wand stimulation, but it's like a soft, cushiony thing to grind against, those are great. I think everybody's just kind of looking for stuff that doesn't feel like it's being marketed towards like, hey, this is woman, you know? So those are the things people are like, oh, is this going to work for me? It's really about like the companies that are really focusing on how things fit with your body and different body parts. I think are doing a lot more like, well, also things that are just more, I hate to say pretty, but like stylish, that look like something that's not your general like hot pink rabbit vibrator, you know, like Dame does a great job with making these beautiful colors, beautiful shapes that they've taken time with to figure out how they work with the body. Even their wand is like this beautiful, seamless, you know, organic piece that fits in your, you know, hands, and it's shaped so that you can hold it without like straining your wrist. Like there's a lot to it. And I think that's what people are looking for. They're less interested in these, like, this is this woman's vibrator, or this great for him. They want things that are just for your body.
Yeah.
Nice.
And maybe too, in doing the research around the different toys, researching the companies and the owners of those companies, because if those owners or the folks who are making it reflect and represent kind of who you are, there's more likely then that they're going to create some products that work for you. I'm interested in any furniture that you can think of, because you're talking about sometimes sitting on something or humping against something. Are there some like chairs that we should be looking into, or there's some other pieces of furniture?
Liberator makes an entire line of furniture from small wedges. Like I have a Liberator wedge that's heart-shaped in my closet right now. And that's great if you're in an apartment. Also, I like it because it's heart-shaped. So like it could live on my bed and look like a bed pillow. Doesn't have to be put away. But it's small enough that I could put it in my closet on a shelf, and it's not like taking up so much space. And then they make these big, like full, like chaise type sex lounges they're like shaped so that you can fuck on them, but like it'll lift your hips, or you can lean over it, and you have padding, and it's not, you know, it's not a couch, you know, it's meant for you to have sex on it, but it can live in your house like a couch. Like it can just be there. So they make a full line of those things. And then, you know what, there's people keep asking, like, because the How to Make a Sex Room came out. And so everybody is like, where do I get this stuff? And I'm like, here's the thing. A lot of the stuff, like if you want to St. Andrew's Cross, you're going to have to go to a maker. You're going to have to find somebody making kink furniture. They're not just online.
And if the only way is online, what are the things they should be looking out for to make sure they're getting good quality toys from a decent supplier? Yeah,
in person. You want to know, like, if that's your only choice and you can go and they have a thing and you've done the research and maybe you've asked questions and you're just going to pick it up, great. But I always tell folks, you want to find a place where they can actually talk to you about the products and not just read the back of the box to you. Can they tell you, if you ask about like a violet wand in a case, are they actually giving you like, hey, have you used this before? Do you have any questions about it? Here's some safety stuff. Are they giving you a little rundown, a spiel? Can they tell you the difference between the toys? Or are they just like, oh, that one's purple, this one has... And I've been in those shops where I'm just going to look and I'm hearing people ask questions, and then I wait because they've not gotten any answers. And I'm like, okay, hey, let me, I hope I don't work here, but I'm a sex educator. Like, I can answer your questions about this. Because I was in a shop and this woman was like, oh, well, does this fit plus size bodies? And the person took it from her, read it, and goes, well, it says, yeah. And I was like, honey, no, here, this is the same one, but in queen, take that. Like, I made the sale. Well, also she went home and didn't buy something she wasn't going to fit into. So those are the things you want to look for in a brick and mortar is, do they have knowledge? Is it a space you can feel safe in? And do you care about, some people don't care about that stuff. So I don't want to act like everybody has to care about those things. But for me, that's a quality shop is a place that feels like community, where they have like some kind of resources where their staff is knowledgeable about the products. They may not know everything. They may not all be sex educators, but they can talk to you about what you're buying and how it's going to work for you. And when you're shopping online, there are so many wonderful sex shops that have stores that I've worked with. So like if there's a shop you've heard about in the Pacific Northwest, like there's Smitten Kitten, and then in the self-serve in Albuquerque. Here in New York, we have Shag. We have a website too. Those are brick and mortars that have stores. You can always support by using those. And the great thing is you can call that in-person store and talk to somebody and ask them questions about things. So that might be a way for you to be like, oh, I want to do this. This might help. And then the online, like a good online shop has a way for you to ask questions. They have a lot of copy about things, and they're really going to help you. Like, I always identify it by like Spectrum, which I work for. But one of the things I love is we created guides. So all the questions that people kept asking, we just started making guides. So you can get like a butt stuff like, oh, how do I use this? You can go into it and get info right on the website while you're buying toys. And if you have a question, you can just type, Carly's the one answering them, but Carly will like, oh yeah, I can tell you about that. Know about the stuff we're selling. That's the thing, is like, we're not like, oh, I don't know what that is. Everything that gets put on the website, it's gone through like sex educators, people who own the shop who are like, oh, I know what this does. I know how this works. This is quality. Our ethos is like, we only carry body safe materials. Right now, we're only carrying like lubes that are glycerin, paraben free, that also like don't have a couple other ingredients. Right now we're like, we're not doing those, because a lot of people are showing they're irritated by it. So it just makes it easier. Those are the things you want to look for. Amazon, I tell folks, I know it's the easy route for a lot of people. If you're buying something, only buy it from the actual maker. So like, you will find Lalo and B Vibe and Lawand and We Vibe on Amazon because they have to, because that's the only way they can keep people from making counterfeit toys. So Amazon won't do anything. If you're a company and you find someone with a counterfeit product on Amazon won't take it down unless you have a store through Amazon. So they make these features right. So people are like, well, why are they on Amazon? Like, they have to. It's the only way they can protect their brand, protect you, because counterfeit toys, like, remember, I don't know if you remember the great counterfeit surge of magic wands that were catching fire because they were overheating. This was like maybe 5-6 years ago that this was going on, maybe a little bit longer. Sunny Megatron wrote all about it, because she even made a guide to like how you tell a fake from a real wand, and like the difference in case you got one, and to be careful.
We will put that on our show notes.
Yeah. So like, it's like, look for those things, right? Like if you have to use Amazon, try to find the company that makes it, selling it, because you don't know what you're getting a lot of times through these third and fourth party sellers. And that's my biggest gripe is, it's not that I don't want people to spend less money, but I'm like, listen, if this toy is $200 everywhere else and you're getting it for $50, something's wrong. That is not, it's not possible. These people are not making money because that is not what it's not even wholesale for $50. Like, this can't be real. So it's just be careful and just take your time. And like I said, it's aesthetics, your belief system, like if you want to shop woman owned, woman run, you're going to find that. There's like Shop Envy is run by 2 Black trans folks. And so if that's where you want to like put your money, you can. And they do an online shop, and their online shop does cater to trans and non-binary folks. So they try to pull products that are going to work, especially for you. So it's kind of like what you need. You can find your niche. It's out there. There's so much. And I always tell people, like, I will support any sex shop doing the work always. Like, I don't like to pit people against each other, because I'm like, we're in different regions for a reason. We're serving different people. We're taking care of people in different areas. Even the UK, I send people to Love Honey, because Love Honey has a code system, and you can call them and say, I'm looking at product like 7256, and the person can talk to you about that toy, because they sell thousands of products, but they have a human you can talk to. So if you're like, I don't know anything. How does this work? Somebody can go, oh, I got you, and talk to you. So I'm like, as long as you're going to get the education and you're not going to go home. I'm not going to say you're always going to be satisfied, right? I've even bought stuff thinking I would love it. And then I'm like, meh, this wasn't great. But you have less, I will never sell you that $300 Lalo vibrator as your first vibrator unless you really want it. I will try to help you find something similar for you to try out the shape or the style. And then I'm like, come back and upgrade. I don't want you to go home and feel broken because your friend told you, 5 friends told you, we all orgasm instantly, and you get home and it doesn't work. The blow. And I've been that person to go home. The way I searched for orgasms, I was Indiana Jones searching for treasure for years. And I would go like, what? This made you have an orgasm? And I would go home and I would just sit and cry. Because I was like, once again, I'm broken. This doesn't work for me. That was teenage and 20s me, with me crying because I'm like, I have a fat vagina. I have a fat vulva, and she blocks things. And so all these toys don't always work for me. And like, just having moments. And then I was like, it's just, this stuff just wasn't for me, but this stuff is for me.
Yes. I also think maybe change the mindset around it. Rather than saying I'm going to get a toy, it's like, I'm going to start my sex toy collection today.
Yes.
Yes. And then just like get your thing for the day and then build on it. I think the aim of the game is not to have a sex toy, but to be a collector of sex toys. Toys for pleasure and fun.
Yeah. And I will tell you, for a long time after I came across the magic wand and I was like, this is it. Like, this is the thing that works for me. And I didn't think I would want to try anything else. And then these ear pulse toys came out and I'm like, I haven't met an ear pulse toy I don't like.
Yeah, that's the next thing to add to my collection.
Yeah, they're great. And the thing is people go, well, I'm like, listen, I have opinions, but I'll tell you this. If you use one of the lowest quality of the group, it's still going to do the job. And I'm like, I can tell you it's lower quality because I've used them all. And sometimes I've used them back to back to just test them out. And I'm like, but if this is the one you're using, it's not going to register for you that like there's something better out there, because it's going to work. It may take a little bit longer, the motor. And then there's different things, right? Like some of them, the openings are really small, so it's not great for everybody's clit. Some of them, they're not flexy enough. So I feel like they can feel kind of hard when you're kind of pressing into your body, which is, you kind of need to press them into your body. So there's attributes that make them some better than others for you. But as a person who's tried them, they've all worked for me in a similar fashion. I've gotten that same kind of orgasm from all of them.
Yes. And some of them suck and some of them flap, right? That's the thing that I've noticed. Some of them are actually doing the sucking motion with air, and there's some of them that's like flapping.
So so when we say suck, and I try to tell people, it's not like a vacuum. So you're not going to put it on and it's going to be like, and like suck to your body.
That's kind of what I was picturing, actually.
Yeah. It creates a seal. So what happens is it hits against your clitoris and it engulfs it and it creates a seal. So it's a vacuum seal. So it's that kind of thing. And then the vibration that's happening around, and it's almost like when you move it, you can tell you've broken the seal, because I'm almost waiting to hear it go like, So it's like a science vacuum. Like your clit is engulfed, it like growing as it engorges up into the toy, and it vibrates around it. Then they make the ones that have like a drum in it. So there's like the Sela and the Sona and a couple of the Satisfiers, more tthan one, that has like a little drum in the back. So you still get that perimeter kind of engulfing thing, but now you have this drum that's going to hit the top of your clit. So you're getting perimeter and top clit stimulation. And it can be, the first time I used the Sona, I fell off the bed because I was not, I literally did. Like, I was like, oh shit. And it was because the little drum, because it's already intense, like the perimeter stimulation is weirdly intense, where it's not that direct stimulation, but you're like, oh my God, what's happening? Because it's not a place we normally stimulate. But then you add stimulation to the top, and it's like, huh. And now the flappy tongue, all last year, every trade show I went to, I'm like, everything's got a flappy tongue now. They got that little like la 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 and everything. So they're making suction toys with the flappy tongue. They're making grinding toys with a flappy tongue.
Nice.
Yes.
They got they got rabbits with a flappy tongue.
Everybody's got a flappy tongue now. Can I ask you a question about intensity? Because now that you mentioned that, and maybe there are products like this or not. What I have found is, first of all, sometimes the first level of intensity feels like it's too intense already. I wish there was another like level below that. But then it goes like intense, intenser, super intense, and then off.
Yes.
And is there like a decline? Like, because when you're like you're there and you get there, and then I gotta like turn it off and then turn it back on and then go back levels up. Is there anything that like goes up and down that I have different options?
There are some toys that have better controls. So I love a good up-down button versus the single button, the cycle.
Yes.
A lot of toys do opt for the cycling button because it's more compact and you don't have to have one button. But I love a good up and down so you don't have to cycle to the end.
Yes.
Also, there's toys that start lower. So, that'll start at a way less intense moment and then go up. And maybe they're not as strong at the top, but that might not be what you need. And that's the thing I always tell people to look for is like, if this is your one, is this good for you? Or do you need like a one that's going to start lower? Or do you need something that starts higher? And for me, like when the rechargeable magic wand came out, it was great. Because before, it only had 2 settings, fucking fuck. That was it. And now there's 4 speeds. I never use the patterns, and I'm not a pattern girl, but I know some people who like they love patterns, and I'm like, okay, more power to you. But now I think there's 4 speeds, and like sometimes I can just stay at 1, and 1 is an actual low. For a magic wand, it's an actual low. So it's all kind of looking. That's another thing people will look for. You can go like, I want something that has more than one button for cycling through.
Yeah.
Or for like rabbits, I love it when there's like a button for the stem and a button for the nub that sits on your clit. So you can control whether they're on or not. If it's the motors running, the intensity. And that's people are like, oh, why is this more expensive? I'm like, it's got more buttons. The buttons usually mean there's a little bit more tech in it. Yeah.
Also, I find the motors change, right? Some of them are buzzing and some of them are thudding. That's definitely like, I'm not a buzzer. I'm a thudder. Like if I'm going to go vibration, it needs to be like low and thuddy. I don't like the the high buzzing. I don't love that.
I always thought I was a buzzy person. And I was not. I'm a thuddy, rumbly. Yeah.
Sure. Same. And also, Jackie, if you have a favorite toy that starts too high, but you like the rest of it, sometimes going over your clothes is nice. Like put something between you and the comforter or something to get you started, and then you can remove, and then you can like regulate that way. Yeah. I do have a toy that I have to do that with.
I have a friend that does it through jeans. So because it's so strong, but she likes it, but she's like, oh, I'm putting on jeans.
No, that makes sense. I think for me though, toy makers out there, that when it goes to the top and then just goes off, I don't go for that. So toy makers do differently. Make it.
Give me another button.
Let me get down a little bit first before you just stop it. We could talk about toys forever. And if folks want to talk about toys forever, they should find you. We're going to give them all the places where they can find you and ask lots of questions. But before we let you go, we want to ask you 4 questions just to learn a little bit more about you.
Okay.
The first of which is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self about love, sex, or relationships?
Be patient, and you're all on the right track. Don't think you're on the wrong track. Because I thought for a long time I was I thought like, oh, me being polyamorous, I didn't call it that, but non-monogamous. I was like, oh, I'm just slutty. And I met my ex and I was like, oh, I've just been waiting for the right person. And then I had a midlife crisis at 25, what do they call it? The quarter life crisis, and realized like, oh, I am not, I'm in the wrong business. This is not what I want to be doing. And I always wonder if I would have stayed on the non-monogamy track that I was already on at 17, 18, 19, how different it would be. But, it is what it is. I'm happy where I've landed.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good advice.
great.
Be patient, and you're on the right track. I love it. Okay. What is one romantic or sexual adventure on your bucket list?
Ooh, okay. I want to have sex under the northern light. I don't know the logistics of that, but I want to do it somehow.
That's sexual and romantic. Bam, bam. Love.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So this question more and more seems self-evident, but Lola, how do you challenge the status quo?
By existing.
Basically.
By existing and continuing to just be loud about stuff.
Yeah. Love it. Changing the noise.
Yeah.
Love that. We are a curious bunch, and we are curious about what you're curious about lately.
Ooh. You know what? I'm curious about reintegrating into community. I feel like pre-pandemic, I was so busy that I was really removed from things because I just didn't have time. But I didn't feel the struggle as much because I was busy. And then the pandemic was hard and we couldn't do anything. So all this like wanting to reconnect or do things disappeared. And then it became, should I be doing anything? Should I be going to these events? Should I be going to these parties? Like, am I being responsible? And like, now I'm in a place where I just feel so shocked from all of that I feel I'm lonely and I feel a little bit like out of touch and I don't know what's going on. And so I'm curious, like, we talked about this, but when we were talking, but not recording before, but that I'm kind of putting my toe back out there and like discovering new spaces and people and seeing what's out there because I feel like I've lost all of it. Like it just is gone. So I'm trying to be curious about that again, instead of being old and complacent and just sitting at home being like,
it's good. It's like a good productive curiosity. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's true. I love it. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I've learned a lot. I'm going to go shopping this weekend and I'm going to add to my collection and I'm going to find a more suitable way of storing things. No more throwing into a box for me.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Lola, thank you so much. It's always fun to talk to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
If you want to learn more about Dirty Lola, you can visit her website, dirtylola.co, and on Instagram and Twitter at Dirty Lola. Be sure to save, follow, and share the Curious Fox podcast, and share this episode with folks who would enjoy it or want to learn something new, particularly if you're looking for a way to introduce the use of sex toys with a partner. Send them this episode. If you've enjoyed this episode, if you have questions or strategies that you want to share, or if you want to connect with other Foxy listeners, then head to our Facebook group at We Are Curious Foxes. And if you want to be even more intimate with us and the show, then become a Patreon member. You get early release of episodes, mini episodes, and content that we could not fit into the show. For our blog post on sex toys, as well as many other blog posts, reading lists, past episodes, and a ton more, go to our website, wearecuriousfoxes.com. And lastly, let us know that you're listening by sharing a comment, story, or question, by emailing us or sending us a voice memo to listening@wearecuriousfoxes.com, or you can record a question for the show by calling 646-450-9079.
This episode is produced and edited by Nina Pollock, who makes playing all the toys we use to record a ton of fun. Our intro music is composed by Dev Saha. We are so grateful for their work, and we're grateful to you for listening. As always, stay curious, friends. Yeah, go for it. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay, stillness. Find stillness.
Centerness. Center stillness for sex toys. Yes.
Exactly. Beautiful. Curious Fox podcast is not and will never be the final word on any topic. We solely aim to encourage curiosity and provide a space for exploration through connection and story. We encourage you to listen with an open and curious mind, and we'll look forward to your feedback. Stay curious, friends.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.